All right, guys. So, here we are. This is my first live video on YouTube. It's bound to be some mistakes. Uh, but I just wanted to pick back up. So, this is a normal writing session for me. I Fridays I'm off from my normal job, and so I try to use Fridays as a day to kind of double down on songwriting. The way I typically do songwriting is I do my sessions in the morning, pretty early, and then Wednesdays I go in late to work, and Fridays I'm off. So Wednesdays and Fridays I kind of double up, and what I think I'm going to start doing is going live on Wednesdays and Fridays. I just start with Fridays for now, see how it goes, and just have fun. I'm not going to get all dressed up and make it super polished. You're going to see me usually working in my Logic projects. I've got my studio set up here. So this is a spare room in our house that I've kind of temporarily converted. Very importantly, my Alaska mug, keyboards. I've got all kinds of treatment and mics and stuff like that. Video background stuff, not necessarily for today, but just other videos that we do, my wife and I. Electronic drum kit here. As you can see, my closet is open, and I've got other microphones in there. Thought it was closed, but again, not very polished. So, I work in Logic. Early on, I tried Fruity Loops. I used to compose music in the what was it called? Finale for orchestral choral stuff. But picked up GarageBand probably circa 2013, and was gifted Logic not too long after, and it just made sense for my brain. So Logic has always kind of been the DAW of my preference. I think it works particularly well for songwriting, for composing. So without further ado, we'll get into this. I don't want to do a lot of preliminary stuff. The piece that I'm working on today is kind of maybe a passion piece. Let me figure something out here while I'm talking. I'm learning on the fly here. So if you have any questions or anything like that, make sure you fire away in the live chat box. So today I am working on a piece that you may have seen if you're new to the channel on my recent short, where I showed a view of me on the keyboard and a view of me on the drums playing a 7/8 time piece. It's kind of a passion project, so to speak. I release various kinds of music under different aliases. This one is just kind of a Borin Doulos music thing. So far, might turn into something else, maybe more my experimental rock style. But this piece I'm having a blast with. I had a ton of awesome suggestions and comments, and a lot of really good compliments. So I'm excited to work on it. See what we get rolling in today. Now, sad thing, if you did see that short, you heard some pretty cool ethnic percussion that you're not going to hear today, because I did not bounce that audio. So it's currently still in MIDI. And the hard drive, I just ran out of ports that have, I could switch it over, but it'd be a little complicated now that I've already started. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to kind of my sort of, the way I write things a lot of times is I'll write something in kind of a stock sample from Logic, just to kind of get the musical idea out, and then I'll add what I actually feel like the sound should be if I need to record it. Guitar, drums, vocals, something like that. or add a sample to it. So in this case, we've got what's called a speakeasy kit. It's just like a jazz drum sample. Let's see. And if you're in the chat, let me know, are you hearing this? I want to make sure everything's working great. This is my first live stream. So this right now is the drum beat in 7/8. That's going to be the drum sample for today. So I don't have the ethnic percussion that I am going to use and that you may have heard in the short. So here's the piece that we have so far. I'll go ahead and mute this. So basically what I did was started with this. I knew that I wanted to do something in 7/8. Not because I was trying to do something complicated, but because I heard sort of this arpeggiating thing happening, and I had kind of this internal rhythm. So I started out on the keyboard, which of course is what happened here too, and came up with this little arpeggiating sort of melody. I'm going to take the chords out real quick. And if you're not familiar with Logic, this right here is what's called a piano roll. If you know music in any terms, sheet music or whatever, we could see it here, but a piano roll is basically showing the notes from a piano in sort of a vertical form, and left to right is the time. So you can see how long the notes go when they're hit. The color indicates the velocity, which I haven't messed with, but I started with this. I kind of wanted something sort of a little mystical, something intriguing. So I kind of settled with that, and then began to layer the chords, and then let that take the shape that it was going to. Started on a D minor, but I did not fill in the middle part of the 3-part harmony there, because in this 7/8 time kind of oscillating arpeggio, I made sure to end this sequence, which hits 6 notes in a 7 time. The last note hits the middle section of the chord. So for D minor, that's an F. And again, that's just like that. Then I went to a C chord, which sounds like it's going from a 6 to a 5 in the Nashville number scale or system. And this time I kept the same D minor pattern except for the last note. Remember, in the first chord, I ended that sequence on the middle harmony of the D chord. And this one I did the same, but for the C chord. So it sounds like it's the 2 of the D minor, but in reality, we have the C. And this is where it gets really fun. I go down to an A chord, which is a 3 in the perceived key, which would be D minor, C. And then you could do a B flat for 4, and then A minor for 3. But I again did the same principle where the last note of this arpeggiation goes to the third harmony, the middle harmony, excuse me, of the chord. And in this case, instead of going to the normal C, which would make it an A minor, I hit an A sharp, which makes it an A major, a major 3. Sounds like this. Now you're not hearing it. And sounds like this. So now, again, if you just kind of work it out chord by chord, sounds like this. Which, again, I thought alluded to the kind of mystical, intriguing element of it. I have a lot of fun putting those kind of chords together. So normally what you might hear is something like this. That's sticking with the normal progression. Sounds like a ton of fun. But in this one, I like to go to that A major. So then what we did is from that A major, went back to a C. So it kind of feels like it's pulling it back to the normal key. But then I do one more chord. I do the last 2 chords at half time compared to the first 3. And that last one, I kind of bring out that A major again. You'll hear in a little bit that I added some bass. And what I did was I emphasized on the bass this E note so that it didn't pull too strongly into that feeling of stepping out of the key. But I did want to have some of that, right? So here we go. Here's the keyboard by themselves all the way through. So again, wanted to go for this kind of mystical, intriguing vibe. So I also picked this. It's kind of a basic electric piano, but I just love this pulsing, and I'll probably work with this sound to kind of tweak it as I get into the more mixing phase, or closer to it at least. But for now, this is really what I like, that panning, kind of hitting both ears, going back and forth. So then what I did with the drums, you can kind of see I pretty much never hit 2 drums at the same time in this piece. I love breaking up percussion elements in a way that can blend what might feel normal with out of the box sort of approach to the rhythm. So I kind of start with this kick and hat, which in the normal samples I use is a djembe, which has a nice beefy low end to it. I kind of muted the slap a little bit. I can dig into that more another time, but if you look at the EQ, I rolled off these highs quite a bit, and even up in the clicky, poppy kind of range too. I just felt like I wanted more of the beef, more of the I liked the midtones, 4 to 800. But I alternate between that and the hat, which again, in the case of the ethnic percussion, is a shaker. So those sound like this. That butts. And then of course the snare. It kind of begins to feel like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But again, we're in 7/8. So that kick, snare. That's what that kind of creates. But then I give this upbeat with the tom work. which kind of brings us out of that sort of, is this a 4/4 feel? Just because that accent. And then I bring in 2 more kicks that mirror the first ones, but they are now scooted over in a way that accents the upbeat along with that high tom. So kind of gives us a little bit of a pulse that's odd, but still something that can be followed, right? And it just keeps circulating. Bum, 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 bum. So now again, guys, if you are watching live, please feel free to comment. Feel free to chat. I'm watching the chat. I haven't gotten anything yet, but I'd love to have questions. If you got questions about how Logic works, what ideas I'm having for this, or if you have suggestions for, I've got a lot of suggestions. I'm going to try some of them out here in a little bit. Things like strings or tubular bells, stuff that fascinates me. I love messing with that stuff. But if you have any of that, and if you've got any comments on the sound, is my voice too loud, is the music too quiet, too loud, etc., let me know. So I added this bass, and again another one I did not bounce. So what I'm gonna do is, this was kind of a real rolled off kind of tone. Let's see here. So again, I didn't bounce the audio, and I ran out of places to stick my external hard drive that has my sounds on it that I used for this piece. So probably go for something. Let me hear that. Okay. Not exactly what I'm going for, but we'll roll some of this up. So added this little bass line. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up for you guys. It's probably pretty quiet over the stream, unless you're wearing headphones or have a good monitor in. All together, here we go. So that's my bass line. I loved having a little walk up. Again, with these odd rhythms, one of the things I love to do is create sort of a circular motion that feels both technical, right, as like a musical person, like, ooh, that sounds really cool, like how did that happen? But I also like to weave it in a way that feels compelling in an emotional sense that almost is relatable or makes sense. So in other words, I want it to be very enjoyable for both technical musicians and your casual listener. I want them both to feel like they're kind of led on a little bit of a journey. So with this bass line, instead of just holding down the root notes of the chords, I add this little walk up. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up an octave just so I can make sure you guys can hear it well in the stream. This is higher than it's going to be, but so you can hear that movement. Helps kind of walk us through the progression a little bit. Keeps us emotionally engaged, I feel, for me anyway. I loved adding the walk up over here. It was just in my mind to do, so that's something I added with no hesitation. And then one of the other fun things I did, I kept this little movement, same kind of pace, boom, bum, 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 bum. It's kind of what I followed with this, with the rhythm of the bass. But then I couldn't find the right note to end this third chord with. So, as odd as it sounds, the keyboard is still hanging out on the A, and I brought it down to a G. It creates an odd A over G, but I felt like with the arpeggiation, because that was the other thing I was making sure harmonically fit as well, I felt like it actually just progressed well. But this one was maybe the most fun addition that I did. When it goes to the C, I bring it obviously back to a C on the root note, but then it goes to that A major chord on the keyboard, and I went to the E on the bass, which is the 5 in the chord. And I just felt like that brought us home a little better, because we're coming back to the D minor, which again is perceived to be the 6 in this song. I wanted to not overemphasize the C sharp or the major part of this chord in particular. So I felt like the E blended a lot better and gave us forward progress. Okay, so let me know what you guys are thinking so far. Now, here's a couple of comments I got. Guitar, vocals, gonna add it for sure. Not doing vocals today. But I got suggestions for strings, tubular bells. There's probably a bunch of other stuff. I got a lot of comments. I don't have a big channel, so this was a good short for me. I have like over 50 comments. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think what I want to do now, now one thing that I gotta figure out for future streams is how to avoid the latency. When I'm streaming, I've got a lot of latency when I'm playing, so it makes it hard to play on time. But I'll figure that out another time. For now, I may just have to do some MIDI input. I feel like one thing I don't want to lose is this high A. Kind of keeps me locked in. So I think I want to emphasize it somehow. But, and let me know if you have any ideas. I kind of thought about just having like a padded string, just sustaining that note. I don't want something real percussive, but I really don't want something just droning. I would like to have a bit of movement to it. Let's start with the strings. We'll just see how that works. A little bit of grittiness to that. It's a bit too whiny. Not working for me. Yeah. Let's try that. What do you think? Let me know. I like it so far. I think I'm going to make some adjustments to it. I do like the kind of ringing out, textury sounds. And I kind of like that pulse at the beginning. So I think what I'm going to do is add it every 2 measures. Let's hear it with just the keyboard. Yeah. It's a little harsh on the impact. So let's see what we can do. Okay. Attack. So attack is kind of how quickly a transient happens, or the beginning of a note. So if we roll off this attack, see how I went pretty extreme with that, and instead of it just, it goes, it kind of fades in. I don't want it to fade in, I just don't want it to hit as hard, so I'm going to bring it back down where it was, and then slightly. That might be it. Yeah. Maybe a little more. Feels good to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of EQ to it. I want to bring out some different texture for it. I'm going to leave that where it's at. Check something. So something else I like to do. Where'd you go? Oh, here it is. All right. So sorry, YouTube video. As you can see, oops, my tuning is raised 15.7 cents, which is round about 444 hertz. Now that's actually what I'm aiming for. If you're familiar at all with standard tuning, it's usually 440 hertz, which is an A note that we use to tune everything else. So all your guitar tuners, stuff like that, are generally set to 440. I like to write in 444. So a lot of my music that you've, if not all of my music that you've heard me release since circa 2019, maybe 2020, has generally been 444 hertz. I've got an interesting story behind that that I might tell sometime. But the reason that came up in my mind just now is because I was bringing up this range, realized I hit 444 hertz, and it just reminded me to check and make sure I'm actually in that frequency. But I like this. I like that kind of hollow, tunnely sound. Let's see with this high frequency shelf. I can bring out a lot of those extra textures. So as I'm working, I'm kind of doing some mixing, not a whole lot, but something like that. I wanted to make sure that I pretty much got the sound more or less what I really am aiming for. I'll do the fine tuning later, but for now, I know what I was looking for in that sound. You know, once I heard those textures, I knew I didn't want so much of the meaty low end of that, or the low mids. I wanted more of that, the rolling, pingy, scratchy tones. And you could tell I brought it down pretty low. I'm not wanting it very present in the mix. It's pretty subtle. So let's add one more little sequence or piece to this. Let's try the strings. Now this was another sound I was toying with, by the way. I hate it. I'm just gonna delete that. All right, strings. Now again, what I'm doing right now is I'm just going with basic stock instruments, kind of getting in the ballpark of what I'm looking for, and then I will come back and actually tweak samples that come from a different library. I'm using Hollywood Strings East-West. But again, I don't have it plugged in right now on my external hard drive. So we're going to stick with we'll just go here. We don't need to go crazy with the string section. I have this latency, but let me try something. Yeah, I could do something like that. So what I'm thinking, we'll start with the 1 and the 5 of the D minor. I'm gonna drone again on the A. It might be too much on the A with everything going on. We'll see. Drop the low end to the C chord, and then when the A major happens, bring it up here, and then it goes back to C, but I'm going to do an E and hold that as the next chords change to an A major again, because that A and E will still be there. So now, not necessarily all of this is actually going to start right here. But what I'm kind of doing is I'm building layers, and I'll more or less figure out where to put them later. Kind of want something a little more wavy. going to find it here. I think it was this one. Or was it Modern? I think it was Modern that I liked. I don't know if I like that. I don't think I do. It's too on the nose. See what happens if I... So I kind of want a soupy reverb sound. Not working for me. Not that one anyway. So let's see. Awesome. Glad you can hear it. Sweet. So still looking for, maybe want a plate. So there's a frequency there that I was hearing a bit too much of. So what I'm doing is a couple of them. I'm bringing in an EQ here, a band, kind of narrowing it out. So I don't really like that kind of piercing, swishy sound. So I'm raising it up to make sure I can hear it. Like, is this the right frequency? Looking for, there's a sound that I'm subtly hearing when it's playing, and I'm wanting to make sure I can narrow out exactly what frequency that is. And then when I bring this piece up, like this, that boosts that frequency. And if I find the one that I'm hearing that I don't like, then I can cut that frequency out by lowering it here in the EQ. So I'll show you, you may or may not be able to hear it, but here's what it was like before. And then after change. I'll boost this for you. So, again, I'm just kind of pinpointing what I like. Now, again, I'm not going to use these strings in the final piece, so I don't need to fine tune them too much, but helps me kind of get stuff out of the way. I think later in the song, what I'll do is add some more prominent string parts. This is kind of background right now. And I honestly probably won't have it at first, right? It'd be something more later in the song. But this line is still pretty background. And I really don't think I actually even want that A in there. It's just too much. But so here's what we have. Again, this is basically 3 different layers of one part. We're going to add different sections. Building out a song is building out different sections where you might have entirely different chord progressions or different drum beats, things like that, a chorus, verse, that sort of thing. But you're also building layers. Sometimes I kind of stack up a bunch of layers at once, but then I'll parse through them and I'll divide them out to where, like, this section isn't going to have all these at first, but maybe say this might be a recurring part, like a verse. Then in the first one I might even go without bass. And without strings, and then later down the road, you know, it might be placed over here. There might be a whole nother piece to this song, and we've got this over here, right? But for now, let's hear it, and this will wrap us up today. Bass and strings. And then just drums. So again, this is just the beginning of a piece. This may not even be the intro, but it's just the beginning stages of writing the song. And I'm having a blast with it. 7/8 time. Again, what you're hearing is basic samples from Logic that I will change. I have a higher quality bass track here, and I've got some ethnic percussion here, but I just didn't bounce the audio. So again, if you heard this piece originally on the YouTube short that I posted, you would have heard much different percussion. Sounds a lot better. That's what it will actually be like right now. I just didn't bounce that audio out, which means change it from MIDI to audio. That sample and the sample for the bass that I'm using is on here, and I just ran out of inputs on my computer. Didn't bounce them out before I started this. So anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. If you want more insights into songwriting and working on Logic and experimental indie music, I've got various kind of genres and styles that I work with, and I'll be doing this pretty regularly. Again, I think I'll start every Friday, and then possibly every Wednesday and Friday, and we're gonna have a blast. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're tuning in. I definitely love feedback. I love ideas. I love creating with people. So if you're a songwriter, if you're not, and you just think, hey, there could be something else here, whatever, let me know. I'm totally open to it. Uh, I'm late. I'll have to speed later. Um, so glad you got to join us. And That's okay. Not knowing anything except for MIDI, that's totally fine. I'll try to make sure these streams cater to both well versed singer songwriters and people that just like to know a little bit about what's going on, uh, writing music, stuff like that. But I'm glad you like the music. Awesome that you have some equipment. Um, and so, yeah, I love the engagement on the chat. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, but make sure that you like this video, subscribe. And I'm about to be pushing out some more stuff on this channel, combination of fun songwriting stuff, releasing some of my music on here, which I have been doing. You can find more of that here, and then some educational stuff as well. But yeah, we're gonna keep rolling with these live streams. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.